Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. No, your eyes don't deceive you. I found a donor truck. Let me take y'all for a quick walk around this thing, then I gotta get to work. I've got somebody I'm gonna trade this suspension out to, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But what I got here is a 70 something and an 80 something square body, all combined. Of course, the round headlights, that was pre-1980, but I think the doors say 85 and the cab says 83 in the glove box or something like that. Y'all know how it is. When you get a new project, people start talking and they're like, oh yeah, my buddy's got one of them. Well, one of my friends had a friend that had this truck. His friend wanted something that he had, so my friend traded his friend and I traded my friend for this. That's kind of hard to say, so I know it's probably even hard to keep that straight. But this truck has all the pieces I really need. The engine cross member, and then of course like the shackles, all the four-wheel drive brackets, everything I need to take off to convert my square body to a four-wheel drive. Now I was excited when I saw this had a lift kit. I didn't know how big the lift was. I just knew it was gonna have a lift kit on it. And unfortunately, I think it's too much. This right here is a 33 1250 15, and it's not hardly big enough to fill up that wheel well like it should. I did a quick Google search on these springs, on that part number right there. These are 8-inch lift springs, and then the back, I think these are like 5. Let's say there's 5-inch lift blocks in the back. I'm afraid that's gonna be just too much lift for what I wanna do. I wanna be able to work with the truck, pull a trailer or a gooseneck or whatever. I think 8 inches is too much, but I found a guy local. He's wanting to trade me his 4-inch lift for this 8-inch even. So I've got to hurry up and get this lift off because I gotta meet him this weekend. I wanted to show you all this thing real quick though before I start tearing into it. Rockers are completely gone. No inner fenders. Got a ratchet strap holding up the transmission cross member there. The interior is not that great. It's already kind of been picked at. So like I said, these doors are off another truck. You can see right there, it says 85 it looks like. And they are power window, power lock doors. The seat is just destroyed. It's all chewed to pieces. Steering column ain't bad, and this is a straight shift, a 4-speed steering column. So this I might restore and put in my truck. I'm not sure yet because I think some things changed, like with the windshield wipers and stuff between years. The whole instrument panel, all the instruments are gone it looks like, but the bezel's in good shape. The dash pad is in surprisingly good shape. I think there's one crack right there, but the rest of it is like in really good shape. This is a 4-speed cab. I do have this whole pedal assembly too. I'm probably gonna keep that just as a spare. And then all my boots are in really good shape on this truck. I've got the plates, transfer case boot, the plate for that, and of course the dog house to cover all that up. It looks like at one point somebody was gonna fix this truck up because you can kind of see old paint and like somebody started restoring that. This cab does have a lot of rust in it, especially like around the windshield frame, and it looks like down through here it's starting to rust out, and of course right here, back over here by the door. It's got a homemade flatbed on it that's okay, not great. It's got 2 big old I-beams up under there, so that's kind of cool, but it's probably not something I'm going to want to use. It does have a pretty straight, nice bumper back here, but again, I don't know if I want to use that. I'll probably just sell it. It's got my favorite white wagon wheels. All 4 wheels match. I think them are 15 by 10s. I might hang on to them, throw them up in the barn and save them for a rainy day. Still got the gas tank in it. It does have a good vent window, and maybe that fits mine, I'm not sure, because like I showed in the last video, mine's messed up. It's got the big hood crease like you see in some of these old trucks. Up under the hood is, I want to say, a 350 short block. It's missing a bunch of stuff, and the guy that my friend traded, he does want this back, so I don't get to keep this, but I'm going to be keeping the transmission. Not a lot to see under here. Power brakes. Looks like the windshield wiper motor's still under here. This was an AC cab, so I've still got some of that stuff. So hopefully it doesn't hurt anybody's feelings too bad that this truck's being parted out. Like I was saying though, my main concern for today is I need to get this suspension off so I can swap that dude out this weekend. Normally I'd take the cab off and the bed off, pull the drivetrain out, the suspension would be really the last thing I do. But that's just not how it worked out this time, and I'm gonna work with what I got. So I'm gonna go grab some tools and tear into this thing. All right, so that went pretty good. I was just kind of making it up as I went, but I felt pretty safe the whole time. I got everything disconnected, just hooked it up to my truck, drug that front axle and all the suspension out with it. I've got this front end kind of blocked up right now. I feel pretty good about it. I think it's pretty stable. So now I'm gonna move on to the rear. Well, y'all, I think I got all that off in record time. Lift blocks, U-bolts, the front springs. Hopefully everything goes smooth and I end up with what I need and he gets what he needs. Mission accomplished, y'all. I got my 4-inch springs. Even got some pretty new looking bushings in there. Lift blocks for the back. I think I've got the U-bolts I need, but I'm not a big fan of reusing U-bolts, even the ones that come off this truck. So I'm gonna measure everything and just order brand new U-bolts. I know the Dana 60 U-bolts are different than the axle I pulled out of this truck. I just wanna take a second real quick and say, there's still good people left in this world. When I posted the ad asking somebody to trade me for those springs, I knew I was asking a lot of somebody because it meant they had to pull the stuff off their truck, block everything up, trust me to deliver on my end, then swap everything and take it back home, put it back on. The guy that traded me on these, he answered the phone every time I called. He was super easy to deal with. He even showed up half an hour early, and he was happy with the deal, and I'm happy with what I've got. I ain't done taking this thing apart yet, so let's see what's next. So really the only thing left on this truck I need is the rear shackles and that whole thing, and then this front spring hanger and that little body mount piece. So what I was kind of thinking about doing is right there in front of that body mount, in front of that cab mount, I could cut the frame off there. Then I'd have my measurements, everything would be in place where it needs to be. When I take that stuff off and swap it onto my truck, I can measure everything off these pieces of frame rail. But I got to looking, and this frame is really in good shape. I couldn't find one bad spot anywhere on it. I just don't think it would be the right thing to do to ruin a perfectly good frame. Even though I'm pulling these brackets off, it'd be real easy if somebody had a rusted out frame to take their good brackets off and bolt them to this frame. And for whatever reason, it's just never occurred to me, but I've got a perfectly good A-frame sitting up there by the barn. A guy I work with actually gave this to me a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it besides the casters don't work. He had it sitting out in his field for a number of years. So it is kind of hard to move it around, but I think this would be good to utilize to start pulling cabs off trucks. The only problem is I don't have a tractor and I've got to figure out some way to get this big old son of a gun way over there. Actually, I think I've changed my mind now. I am gonna need that A-frame to pull that utility bed off. I might not have to pull the cab off this, and that'd be easiest for me. I could just sell it one big pile to somebody else that can use parts off of it. So I think what I'm gonna do is pull this front clip off, get the hood off and all that. See how much access that gives me to them brackets. If I can get them brackets off, pull that engine out, grab that cross member, I think I'm pretty much done with this truck and I can put the rest up for sale. Alright, so I got the front clip off. I went ahead and pulled the bumper off too, just to get easier access to all this stuff. These two front brackets I'm after, and then of course the rear ones too. Now all this stuff is riveted on from the factory. It's got these big old metal rivets in it. I used to cut them, make like an X, and I'd take a big chisel and knock the heads off of them. But I think this method is actually a lot quicker and a lot easier. This is probably the easiest one to go after first. Maybe these two right here, and then it looks like there's 4 more up inside here. I might can get them from behind. It'll be easier to get to them. All I'm gonna do is take a drill and a small drill bit. Don't go too crazy. And you're gonna drill a pilot hole in this, and then I'm gonna get a bigger drill bit, step it out, and that head should just come right off there. I gotta be honest with y'all, after doing them front 2 brackets and drilling and punching out all them rivets, I'm kind of tired and kind of bored. That gets real monotonous. I could actually fit my little Milwaukee grinder up in here. I get to all the heads of them rivets and they ground off pretty quick. I've got one of these, I think it's Benchmark abrasives. Yeah, one of their good flat disc. They come off in no time. It's a lot quicker than doing that. Now over there, I really couldn't get this thing up in there, but here there's plenty of room to get to all them. But if you ain't got one of these little cordless grinders, the drill out method still works over here. I'm gonna tell y'all what, if you can grind them, grind them. That is the quickest way I've found so far. Of course, stuff like that, like I said, you can't get up in there. Got all my brackets now though, my front spring hangers and my rear. Of course, I'll get all them cleaned up. A few of them still have some rivets stuck up in them. I'll wait till I can stick them in a vise or something and knock the rest of them out because I don't want to bend them up. This one's a little wallered out. I guess that bolt wasn't the right size or is loose or something. but that shouldn't be too bad to weld up. There's one more thing I do need to harvest off of this before I can put it up for sale. That's this engine cross member right here. Now, somebody on Instagram did send me this really sweet Off-Road Designs cross member you can use. It's aftermarket tubular style, super high clearance. It is really nice, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep this one anyways for a backup. So I guess I need to go grab my engine hoist and get this thing ripped out of here. Well, I wasn't sure how that was going to work, trying to pull this thing with my truck. It worked out pretty good. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get that transmission low enough to get under the firewall here. Then finally it hit me. I had that stupid thing still strapped up and tied to that board. I was pulling the whole cab with it. I got this far now though. That cross member is kind of hanging me. I think what I'm going to have to do is undo these bell housing bolts, take the engine off, and then pull the transmission out separately. So it looks like bell housing bolts are next. Well, y'all, I forgot to hit record, but that thing just come right up out of there, pulled it back over there, sat down, and unhooked everything from the truck. Believe it or not, I took 3 bolts out of that bell housing. That was all that was holding that engine on there. So now I gotta figure out how to get this cross member off. I think that right there might be the way to do it. Hopefully I can get to them bolts now. Then I'll take that engine hoist, I'll lift this thing right up and out of there. So to get this cross member out, it looks like the cross member is actually riveted to the frame, and then the motor mounts bolt to the cross member and the frame. So I'll probably unbolt them motor mounts, get them out of the way, and then cut that cross member out. To be honest with y'all, I'm kind of tired of cutting and drilling out rivets right now. I want to run down to the shop real quick because I got something I want to show y'all. So I'm kind of starting to think maybe things are getting a little out of hand. Well, y'all can relax because this is not my truck. This popped up on Marketplace and it was dirt cheap. But I really wasn't in the mood to part out a whole nother square body when I'm not even finished with the red one. I passed it on to a guy I work with, and he was interested in buying it, but he had no way of hauling it. So he proposed a trade. If I'd go pick it up and haul it for him, I could have some parts off of it. Now, of course, the main thing on this whole truck I was interested in is this ginormous flatbed. And it don't look half bad on camera. It's got these nice matching toolboxes, but it is a homemade bed. I don't think this is a manufactured bed. I think somebody put this together out on the farm or something. And obviously it is just way too long to fit on my truck right now. I'd say my rear tire lands somewhere where this toolbox is at. But I see a lot of value in all the material here. This is all steel, I ain't gotta buy. This is a nice flatbed. I think it's actually one solid sheet of metal, maybe. I don't see any seams in it. And for just the cost of the diesel to go pick this thing up, a free bed is totally worth it. Now, of course, nothing's ever easy. Whoever put this bed on, it looks like they welded it. and a bunch of different spots to the frame. So that'll be fun to take off. Probably just take the plasma cutter to that. It's the same on both sides. Snip all that off. It's a little fifth wheel hitch deal. I think that's welded too. I'll have to snip all that off. There's plenty of bed here though, that when I shorten it up, I think I can fill in this spot right here where this gooseneck hitch was, or I might opt to put a gooseneck hitch on mine. I'll just make a nice little cover for that. This is actually a pretty cool truck though. I'll show y'all how he was advertising it and why I think a lot of people wasn't interested in it, even at the price he was asking. But this is a true K30. It's a 1-ton four-wheel drive truck. It was an automatic, but the transmission's out of it. And it's a factory big block. There's a 454 up under there that actually runs. He started it for us. I don't feel like taking the strap off, but you're just gonna have to trust me on that. The super long wheelbase though, that was kind of throwing me off. I was trying to figure out what this would have come from. I was thinking maybe like a forestry or a park truck or something. The dark green paint, like on the dash and the roof and everything, that was another telltale sign this was used at some kind of park or reserve or something. And I'll have it with me, but I got a blurry picture of it. There was a tag on the glove box that says U.S. property. Come to find out, this was an ambulance in the Army. I'm not sure like which base. I'm guessing somewhere in the South. But that totally explains the really long wheelbase. Well, y'all, it's a bunch of work, a bunch of time, a little bit of money, but one step at a time. I'm getting closer to that dream square body I've always wanted. I got all my brackets now. I got my lift kit, my suspension, and a nice little surprise at the end of the day. I even got the flatbed I'm wanting. I never get tired with fooling with all this old stuff. It's always an adventure taking something apart, putting something together. As usual, if you saw anything on this truck that you'd be interested in buying, hit me up at 7barsalvage@gmail.com. There's a bunch to look forward to. I've about got everything I need to put the transfer case back together for the 3B, get that thing all put back together, and then maybe in 2023, dive right into the square body build. I really appreciate y'all checking out this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all next time.